I think it's probably the best door on the market. The original door was built to go down to training in Louisiana for the Pools International Conference by a couple of years ago. Nick Sequin's out of Frisco. He originally worked in DC for a while and then came to Frisco. He's really sharp on force entry. And he said, hey, we're doing a truck without a truck class. I'll do the force entry. We really need a prop. They had the blue door, I can't remember, guy Perone out of New York developed it. He said, you know, it's got some good parts, bad parts. And so I said, well, just come over to the shop. We'll draw something up. He said, we can't use that one because it's Frisco's. He said, we'll draw something up, you know, get you a prop. And so anyway, we came to the shop. I had a pretty good idea. If you've been down to our training field, we built those 4 doors on that tower back in 2003, 2004. And that's kind of the basis behind the door. And then we had to build a spring system. Knowing what I know on durability, it has to be pretty tough. And so came up with a good way to design the springs, and that creates a give. And the reason we want to do that is whenever you're working on a standard commercial door, you have some crush or some flex in it. And that's what we're trying to simulate, that with those springs. And that's the whole thing. We can over adjust these springs and make it not realistic, and you'll be real hard on people, and you'll be real hard on equipment too. And you can break stuff if you're not paying attention. Sometimes there's some things that fail, you know, but we use that for a lot of uses on it. So as we're doing that, and basically if you'll think of this whole class, think of commercial force entry. This is going to your strip centers. You're pulling up. Whenever we pull up on a strip center, if we're going to the back alley, we have the building on fire. We're opening in 3s. We're going to open the fire building and 1 on each side. And if there's fire extended there, we may be opening 4, we may be opening 5. But then those will be the toughest doors we hit. As you get into the fronts, usually are pretty easy. The backs, you may have stuff that you can't see, and you may have stuff that you can see. There's some basic stuff to expect. And then at that point, as you go through, you really have to do your size up and figure out what's going on here, why is that not working. And hopefully this, as we go through today, this will kind of throw up some memory points and go, hey, wait a minute, is this going on? Okay. The first thing we're going to do is talk about commercial strip center. Those are going to be outward opening doors. And we're going to come over here and kind of look at this door. Okay. Panic bar. Where's panic bar go? Right here. Right. Waist height about 3 foot, 34 inches. Our lock system on here is a little bit lower, but the reason for that is because we wanted to make you working in the correct space if you go to do a simple crush on the door. Okay. As I'm looking at this, get that right unlocked. So panic bar, what's the standard throw on a panic bar? How far does it? Oh, about 2 inches. Actually, a panic bar only throws about 3/4 of an inch. Same way with this latch. This is actually a panic bar on this one. You can see right there. That's all we got to overcome, right? If we can overcome that, and there's no other locks on this door, we can get in. We can probably get in faster than anybody can cut it. The only guy that's going to be faster is if he's walking through the building and pushing on it.
What about with the magnets now?
The magnets, that's going to be, now this one doesn't have a true magnet up here. It's all in the lock system, right? So we can overcome that. I have not had the opportunity to try to attack the magnets. It may be the fastest thing as a saw, but there may still be additional locks on this.
We learned these tricks to override on. Okay, we ran into it the other night.
Yeah,
we could have busted it open, but we're like,
yeah, it was glad we could have got in for once.
Right, and so that's something I don't have much experience in, and I don't know. I haven't seen a whole lot out there, but I'm sure there is if you search far enough. But
yeah, little pet, the swipe card, and then the doors open.
Right, and that's what. Yeah, usually you'll see some kind of. You'll have a bolt.
Yeah.
Head or two. Usually the ones I've seen have had 2, and they sit up there, and that's where they hit up. And I don't know how much force it takes. If it's realistic, if we can overcome that force from this side, it's going to be really hard, just because of your bad angle.
Some of them are supposed to be disabled when the alarm goes off. So as long as you've got a fire alarm going, they may be disabled.
That's supposed to be.
In the newer systems, probably.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say all of them, but
yeah. We were just wondering.
We
were just asking around.
Yeah,
like,
the newer ones, I bet you're right.
We,
the older ones.
We could have got through.
Kind of like the hospital doors that close.
Yeah. So I'm back in the back alley. I come up. Either there's a 1-man or a 2-man crew. If I see this, what am I thinking?
Drop bar.
Drop
got
bar.
something on there.
Okay. Now, do we know that drop bar is in play?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, even if we're going to attack this, it usually will always have a lock here. So I'm going to go ahead and attack and crush this and try to overcome that panic bar. And if I get it open, and it starts hanging at the top, I go, oh, the drop bar's in play. And this door is gonna flex. This one won't much. It's designed to be rigid. It's designed to use thousands of times over and over and over. But on this door, we'll actually start flexing. If this is the only thing holding it, and I get past that, or this is, and then this holds. Now, if I see that, does that make anything different? Not really. It's still a drop bar, right? Okay. So, as I'm looking, and I see something like that, what am I expecting?
Some kind
Some kind of slide lock, right? And it could be, they could be facing upward too. I've seen some of those. Let's see, what else we got on there? That's pretty much. Now, the other thing I may not see is little slide bars, and they use just a sheet metal screw that are in the backside. They just run through the back skin, and I've seen where they have 3 or 4 of those. The interesting thing, the guys out of Austin talk about this, is people will lock from here up. It'll be just a super fortress. But usually, very few people will go and do this. And so as we go to prying on this, we may come across a door that has whatever, that has a magnet in place. It may have other kinds of stuff. They hired a guy like me because they've been broken into once or twice and went, okay, fix this where nobody can get in. And it has some kind of weird lock system. Our old Radio Shack, it had double drop bars. Even if you got past the drop bars, they were locked in place on the wall with padlocks. So you were going to be tripping over one and hitting one about right here in the chin. A shin bar and a chin bar. You know, so they'd obviously been broken into. If you go to Smashburger, they're on Main Street in Louisville, right across from Walmart, kind of by Chipotle and 24 Hour Fitness. If you pull up there, you'll see a steel plate with 2 bolt heads on it. There, and there. And then you'll see a steel plate here with 2 bolts, steel plate here with 2 bolts, steel plate here with 2 bolts, okay? And that's an emergency panic bar. And it actually pins into here. That one, it's gonna be a lot of work. If you can get the saw back there, get the saw back there. Keep in mind, I'm not opposed to sawing. If you're overcoming a panic bar, you can probably do that faster with a set of irons if you're well trained than you can to get in there and cut. And we can control everything. Now, as soon as you start throwing this other stuff into play, the saw may be faster. And that's part of that size up, knowing what your skill level is. And the beauty is this you really can't tell much about. But we go over here and we take doors, we cut them in half, and we start putting these on there, and we start learning how to overcome those. That's really where this system works really, really well. As you're doing that, as the guy running the tools, pay attention and see what's working and what's not. And as you get the chance to do that, you really learn a lot about how your tools work. So this particular door, if I had to go through it in Louisville, and this is, like I say, it's on Smashburger. Well, it used to be an electronics store. They sold phones and all kinds of other little stuff. They obviously been broken into. They have angle iron going across here with screws sticking out, and all it is to reinforce this door so nobody can bend it, because obviously somebody's bent it in 2 and pulled it off there. But these, if I come in here with a saw, and I don't want to cut in the first ½ inch, because that gets me into my jam. But if I come in about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch and take a saw, go right here and cut, just straight in. That pin that goes over, I'm going to overcome that. I'm going to go there, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go there, and then I can actually take this door, get my irons in there, and bring it toward me. I may, if I got a hand point, I might be able to pull it to me. Now, the other thing that brings up is that particular door has a little bit of trick to it, because there's a railing that comes here and turns around. So then we start working in limited space. Okay. So initially today we're going to start out in open, and we won't go into limited space. But as we progress in our training, once guys get this basic attack down, then we're going to start working them down low, where they're working, swinging tools and working at a ground level. And then we start reducing space. We come over here, we put up a wall. We may put them in the end of a hallway where it's an elbow, and make them work 2 guys, and you have to coordinate your swings and your attack. Okay, and those are progressions in competency level. This should be a basic skill. As you start working with 2 in that communication and doing some tougher positioning, those become intermediate skills. And then if you want to work it on through, after you get real proficient with that, put guys in blacked out masks, say, okay, you're in a fire, you're operating 2 over from the fire building, doing search, and they just had to collapse the awning out front. You've got a set of irons, your flashlight's dead, and you got to get out the back door. And that's what you have to coordinate swings in the blacked out. And that's a really tough deal. It's a big communication deal. You learn the same skills that you're learning here, but you're applying them, and you're applying them at a much higher level. So that's some of the stuff over time you can work with. Any questions on size up wise? And these will be the toughest doors. The doors that open outward, you come in here and you hear a shock, gap, set, force. Really, it doesn't do you much good to shock this door. You probably aren't going to learn much about it because it's going to hit the jam just like it hits the jam all the way around. And so, I'm not a big fan of shocking these. You just got to, you know, you got to. You'll see whenever we do attack these doors, why we attack them the way we do. If the door opens away from me, I'm all about it. And that's what we'll show you some techniques there to try to figure out if it's dark or you're having a hard time seeing. You can use feel and sound to figure out if that door is moving, and if it is, that may be my purchase point, but I want to put all my pressure where those locks are. Whenever I go to work on this door, if I have this latch, I'm going to figure it's right here. Now, the other thing that may help me is if I have a shove knife, carry in my gear, start down here and slide that. If I hit something here or don't hit something here, if I don't hit something here, I go, uh-oh, because this should throw in that latch. There's nothing there. Do I have a deadbolt? Oh, I hit the deadbolt. So this throws 3/4 of an inch. What's a deadbolt throw? Inch and a half, inch 3/4, maybe 2 inches at the most. So it's going to be a little bit tougher to overcome, but we can still overcome that, especially with enough iron work. So, and then as I come up and around, I may find something. Some of the old panic bars go up and down. Most of those are on the inside of the door, so I won't be able to fill those. And so, I may see something here, or I may not. They may just be sheet metal screws on the inside. So, and as you're going around shopping, doing surveys, walk in the back, or drive down, better than that, drive down the back alley and go, okay, how are we getting in that one? Size it up from the outside, then pull around, walk in the inside and see if it matches up to what you thought it was. And that's it. If you get real bored, go up to Louisville and look at some of our pawn shops. Those are good. I hear that there's no pawn shops in the city of Coppell. I don't know how you guys don't.
A lot of this stuff you're talking about, you probably see a lot more.
We sell our stuff to you guys.
And that's the thing is though,
But you never
realistically,
know.
in Louisville, we're not going to come across a lot of commercial entry. It's going to be the hardest thing we do. Now, those same techniques on wood frame, we can do them. At a certain point, we're going to change. But if we start out right here, we may be successful and be done. And that's what, as we go through talking about the tools, my big deal is work smarter, not harder. Because there'll be a day or a time I need you to work harder, not smarter. Just get through this, you know. But if you're working smart with your tools, you'll save energy and be more efficient. And then, so once we get into this, right, this is a whipping, what do we have to do as soon as we open the door? Oh, we got to where we're going. Now we got to go to work, right? And so you don't want to exhaust yourself with not having a method or a system to follow to get through. And
so a couple of questions.
Yes.
You keep like a rabbit tool on your truck?
we do. So a rabbit tool on outward opening door is going to be pretty limited. Right. And you start practicing these techniques, with the exception of maybe going to a hotel that's smoked up and you got to open 20 doors, blowing them in, you may end up just sticking with the irons and run through there. Now, the other thing is we're talking about precast or steel walls right here where you don't have give. So as we get give, that makes life easier. Using the techniques we're going to use, we may have some give in there. The guys from FDNY, a couple things that they do. They actually hand me that bar closest to the pigs right there. So if you were to go take a class with Bob Morris, Captain off Rescue 1 who's recently retired, he'll come in, he'll show you how to tune the bar, right? Square up your corners, and those are for certain reasons, and tune this out. They've started putting additional, people add marks to them, and those are eye reminders as I'm using the tool. They run a 30-inch bar, okay? And the reason they do that is they have tenements. Tenements are 30-inch doors. If you have a 36-inch bar on a 30-inch door, it does not work because it hits over here before I can get in there. The other thing is they usually attack with the iron or the fork end. Okay, the fork end. If I start here, what are my mechanical advantages? If I'm an inch in, what's my mechanical advantage? We got a 30-inch bar, a 1-inch fulcrum.
31.
So we're 29.
Yeah.
So we cut that in half. Is that correct? But realistically, we got to have 2 inches here. So we're down. As this fulcrum point moves, you start losing mechanical advantages. If I drive in here, stick this in and twist it, what's my mechanical advantage? It's 15 to 1. It's always 15 to 1. If I put this in and twist, okay? Now, so if I go in here, drive that in, twist it down, I've got a 15 to 1 mechanical advantage. If I'm using the full length of this. On this particular one, if I have a 36-inch bar and I drive it in and I'm out here, what am I at then?
Greater.
At 18 to 1, right? So that's starting there. If I can do an adze twist, do that. That's my mechanical advantage. Okay? It doesn't matter if I'm giant or little. This is my mechanical advantage. Use it to your advantage. Okay? Now, as we stick it in here, let's see. We stick this behind and go to pry. The distance here, that reduces me to a 7 to 1 mechanical advantage. Okay? So one of the things I can do, so if I'm here, I can actually take the 2 of these and I shorten that distance, and I'm at about a 9 or 10 to 1. Okay? And so that's what, as we go through this, I'm going to ask you what's your mechanical advantage? 15 to 1, 10 to 1, 7 to 1. And that's what you're going to run through, get used to using those. And it takes a little while, whenever you're not used to doing that, to jump through those and make them automatic. Once you do though, you're automatically working through your mechanical advantages. Every time I lose mechanical advantage, I gain distance. And so that's my advantage. That's not saying we don't ever use the forks, okay? There's definitely a time for the forks. Then we'll get into that over on the other side of the door. So let's start out on the back
Real
side.
quick, sorry.
Yes.
Is there any time that you attack the hinge side of the door?
I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not going to say you won't ever do it because we have done it. Okay. And so if I'm going to attack the hinge side, and that's what I don't have a sample hinge. Normally on these doors, if you guys find used doors like out of school district or somebody's replacing doors, if you leave the hinges on them, you can actually do a hinge pull in the crush front. So if I'm going to come up here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to hit those hinges. What am I doing whenever I do a hinge pull on these? What's holding?
Sure.
4 screws on each side, right? There's eight, whatever, they're 1/4 inch. Actually, I think they're smaller than that, number 10s or whatever they are. Just letting guys work on it and see. This is an actual real door, just similar to that. Now, keep in mind, they made these doors for probably 40 or 50 years. You started seeing them in the 60s. All the doors are 2-piece. They either match, like this door matches like this, and some of them match at the back, okay? So where they made up, that's where they'll come apart really easy. And so the one thing we got to do is whenever we're going into these doors, we got to pay attention to that and make sure we don't get in the middle of the door. Because the last thing we want to do is bring the front half of the door and still have it up there. The other thing is if we skin the door and we're not paying attention and we drive that skin back and wedge it on that jamb, it becomes a whole lot harder to get around. If I stop and do controlled, I'm hitting hard, but I'm doing controlled strikes. And then I come in and get everything rolling. Once this metal starts rolling, life's good on these. And that's what you learn that in this prop, okay? And you can see we actually did an attack with the C-shift guys the other day right here, okay? So we're gonna come in and size up. What do we say? We're gonna attack. This prop allows us to attack in you usually get about 6 entries. We get one here, we should be able to get one here, one here. We may be able to get 2 here, 1 here. We lose this where the hinge is because that gap it's a little bit too easy to get your tools. It actually causes you problems because on the back side you stand a good chance of skinning the door. But you guys can play with that later. So we come up to the door, we see a set of dead bolts or a set of drop bar bolts and nothing else on there. We're going to figure it's the panic bar. We're going to start there, and that's where we start our attack. Okay, this may or may not be in play, so that's where we're going to start our attack. First thing we're going to do is depend on if we're a 1 or 2-man crew. If we have this down, we're going to attack it the same way. And maybe I'm switching tools if I'm a 1-man attack. Our OV man has the potential. If we pull up as a Louisville's truck, we're 5-man minimum staff. The high side, we could get assigned to the back alley. The low side could be assigned to the back alley, and then the OV man could too. And if we pull up, or it may be that they send the low side down because they're pretty sure these buildings have been searched or they're clear. we want to get in those back doors because we got heavy fire involvement in one of the occupancies at the back. And so we may start attacking that. Or one man attack, he may be attacking it by himself. And so as we go through this, consider how you're going to do that as one man. And a lot of it is learning how to swing a tool, depending on if it's right or left. So the first thing we want to do is we look at this and judge our gap. If it's a fairly tight gap, we want to deform the door. Now, keep in mind, the building is on fire, we want in, okay? This isn't through the lot, we're not trying to take our time. We need to get into this fast so we can either get a line in place or so we know what's there and we can get moved on and give them a report from the back of the building because they're not going to come in the front because it's too heavy fire involvement, okay?
Just fight through it. It's going to be all day.
So the first thing we're going to come in and do, if this is a tight fit and I try to drive my tools in there and they're not tuned out very well, I may run into problems. So the first thing I do is I come in, I'm going to come in and impact it, and I want to hit it about 2 to 3 inches back. If I hit it right here, I'm going to mash that stuff over and it's going to be a lot harder, okay? But if I hit, you can see how this door deforms. They actually struck right in here. That pulled that over. Once I do that, I have a purchase point for my Halligan bar for my adze, and then I'm going to drive it in. This door, or this crush prop, has a 1/2 inch jam on it, just like what that door does. And that's the standard whenever you come across commercial doors, that's what they have, is a 1/2 inch jam, okay? And so that's what we're going to drive up against. Whenever we put marks on tools, you guys are going to find this amazing. How far is that mark?
2 inches.
What about this one?
2 inches.
2 inches. Why is it 2 inches?
So
It's a visual reminder that whenever I drive this in,
probably need it.
I'm there. I don't need to try to drive it in the jam. Now, this one's solid. You're not going to drive through it. If this tool's sharp, the guy who's running the striker tool is getting on it, I could potentially drive into the jam. Now what am I bringing? The door and the jam and a whole lot more work because I haven't paid attention. So as I get in there, the guy calling strikes, strike, 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 stop, okay? Then we're gonna go through and do our crush. And whenever we do a crush, what we're doing is we're actually twisting the bar and crushing the door. This is permanent damage to the door. At this point, by the time we go to striking it, we're tearing up this door, okay? So we get in here, we get it down. So I want to control my bar. I'm going to pull out just a little bit, and then I'm going to work it down. And then as I come back up, I may let the bar slide down, but then I'm going to work it up. And I'm going to crush. You can see the door moving right here, right? Okay. So we're going to do the same thing right here. This one we won't need to deform because we got a big enough gap. Okay. So the first guy go in. We're going to drive in. Now, and the reason why are we deforming the door here?
To create a bigger gap.
We want to put the adze on the back side of the door so we have a pry point that I can come through and pull. That gives me, if you look on the back side of this door, you can see where I'm at back there. That's giving me a footprint that's going to grab the door and start pulling it. Where's the strongest part of this door? It's on this side where the bends are, over here. And occasionally you'll have supports going through them if they're the only doors. We came across some that had 6 supports running upright. Those are pretty stout doors, but in between, it's just thin layers of steel. And the tops and the bottoms are holding in place. And you can look right here. This is reinforced for where the latch goes. You can see that double thickness. But the rest of this door, for the most part, except until you get over by the hinges, is not double thickness. Okay. Now, whenever I do that crush down and crush up, as I go to come around, I want to make sure I'm not skinning that door. If for whatever reason I'm not all the way back, and I start to come, or I do my crush, then I'm going to leave that back and I'm going to bend it over so it's harder to get to. If your forks are tuned out, you can reach back in there just like right here and get that. Once it starts rolling, it's good, but you got to get behind it and get it to roll. Okay, so who's my first guy up to do the strikes, crush? Okay, gloves and eye protection.
Strike.
I didn't bring my fire gloves. I would have.
Eyes, Nick. Protection, Nick.
I like this.
So you got strike. You want to keep going? So drive.
Drive. Okay, hold on. We're talking about hits. Can you hit that harder than that?
Probably can.
Okay, as you hit this, you should be in about 3 hits. Okay. So one of the things as he's driving, this is what we want to look for. Whenever we're running this tool in particular, has a flat surface on it, right? So as I'm driving, you see him in position. He's actually between him and the guy holding the tool, and that prevents me from swinging like this and hitting his hand or whatnot. So that's a good technique by driving down here. Now, as I'm striking this, if my hand comes back here, look at the angle that I'm hitting this at, and that's going to drive it down. If I can move this hand into here, about the same distance, 4 to 5 inches, and I drive, it's going to tend to keep it straight up and drive it square. Okay, and that's something I may look at. If I'm looking from here, see how this is angled down? I may tell him tap it up. Okay, and then take it and keep those drives. And that's know that the driver, as I'm hitting you, I can drive it up or I can drive it down depending on where this hand is. Okay, so are you all the way in?
Yeah.
One of the things you're doing right here is you're listening too, and you're feeling. So I'm going in, ting, ting, and then all of a sudden it goes clank, and it deadens. Then I'm up solid. Okay. So then what do? Pull out just a little bit. No. Pull it, and then go down. Just a little bit, now go down. Go down, down. Once you get it down, go up. And I want to crush this. Pull it out and get up. And so as he's doing this, if you got a second guy, you're watching what's happening. Make sure he's not skinning it. Make sure he's got both sides of the skin in it.
Good. Alright, Nick, hey, you gotta get behind the second part. We'll kind of start skinning. Okay, see it?
You see it? Okay.
Yep. I'm gonna need you to hit. One more.
So right here, I may call this as a tap. Give me a tap, give me a tap, give me a tap. And I know that he's not going to kill it right here because we're doing a finesse operation. We're trying to get over in that corner. Yes, sir. I do strike and drive. Drive is you drive until I tell you stop.
That's correct.
And so whenever I say stop, I know I'm going to get one more hit out of it.
Good job.
You don't want to sit there.
Can you get it?
Just tap, 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 tap.
All right. So you guys, the other guys come around here and you can actually see what he's doing, where he's at right there. You pretty much have to stick your nose right over that.
Yeah. Get it?
Right? And so we've set this door up to have multiple attacks. We can get about 25 bolts in the door. So the first thing we're going to do is just attack a single bolt. Okay? And so what we want to do on this, all right, the first thing we come in and do is take our striking tool, preferably not our Halligan. This makes a terrible hammer. It's 3 pounds here, 3 pounds here. I got just as much on the backside. There, I actually have a striking tool, but I'm going to come in, I'm going to try to hit right on top of my bolt. And I'm going to do that once or twice. Whenever we're doing that, if you'll watch on the back side, you'll see it soften. And we may actually get a 1/4 inch or more of deflection in the door like we did here. See how far that's pushed in? So we're going to push that in and soften it up first. Okay? Then we're actually going to work on getting that bolt, we'll wallow around where we can pull the bolt through the door. And that's how we're going to do that, is come in here. If I don't have a purchase point and I'm a one-man, this is an easy way to get that. If it's a single bolt on each side, I'm probably going to attack from the bottom. If I get into this pattern, I'm going to figure there's a steel plate there. And so now I'm going to tend to attack from one side or the other. And I really don't know, unless I haven't been in this building in particular and can remember that, which probably I'm not. But basically I'm going to work those, and I have to work both of these. If I just have the single, obviously I'm just working the one. I'm usually going to start at the bottom and start working around. Doesn't mean you always have to start at the bottom or always on the side. If you have a reason to do something different, if you've seen something, then you can try it different ways. There's not one set standard. But we're going to come in here, I put this in and I hit one good hit right here, and that's going to dimple. Then I'm going to turn this and I'm going to drive it in. Remember, on any Halligan bar, the pike always points toward the fork. See that curve? Any Halligan bar you get, it always points toward the fork, so you know where the curve is. So what happens is I drive this in. On this particular door, if I'm attacking from underneath, I'm going to rotate up and I'm going to pull. And what I'm going to start doing is reducing the integrity of that door on the back side. I'm going to start tearing it. And I'm going to use this taper on the pike to tear. Once I get that done, I'm going to work my other positions. I'm going to work 9 o'clock. I'm going to rotate around. I'm going to do 3 o'clock. And then in the end, I'm going to come up and push it. and I'm going to do 6 o'clock. So whenever I do these tears, I'm going to tear all 4 positions. If I work off the side, I may wait to do that 3 o'clock push until the very end, but I'm still going to tear all 4 positions. Okay. This one we're doing just this bolt, so we're going to do that, tack all 4 positions, and then we're going to look and see what we have. Okay. Yep.
2 man or 1 man?
You can do 2 man. So the first guy's going to strike it.
Right.
No, I'm talking about hitting. I want you to blow it through the back side of the door. Is what I really want you to do. Right here. See how your hand's staying up here? See this hand?
Yeah.
That's going to limit me. So
Right.
if I come back here, whenever I'm hitting, I want to hit. Because I'd like to do 1 time and be done.
Gotcha.
So I'd like to do 2, and I want to push this in. How much? Because that curve in that pike, if it's narrow, go ahead and hit me a strike. Okay, so there, we just went through, okay? Now, go ahead and work from here, call whatever strikes you want, do your tears, okay? If you want it deeper, go ahead. Now, keep in mind, you have a pretty good idea you're in the bar, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and do your
You're not going to do that.
on the backside for everybody else. And what he did was he put that pike in at a different angle and started tearing this side. All right, he's got this one started working loose. If he tears this side out, chances are that whole bolt, that door is going to lose its integrity, okay? So that's what you have to be able to visualize. We can come back here and watch these as we attack this. These brackets are going home with me, but all you need is a steel plate back here with 2 holes in it. So as you attack the front side of this, you can look back here and go, okay. And that's what a lot of guys can't visualize this until they go, oh, I see what they're doing now. Ideally, whenever this comes to the real deal, we're not going to be able to look inside here, but I got a pretty good idea what's going on based on how my tools are reacting on the front side. And I go, well, so now I'm going to try attacking just slightly different, okay? Go ahead. Work all your sides. If you need to square it up, let it square it up. See, right now you're actually skinning the door. You're in the middle of the door. You haven't gone through the back skin. You were in the back skin early, and then try to get all the way through the back skin before you do that. Half inch, you gotta go all the way to the jam. Okay? So the same way right there, we crushed. We come in here, we go down. Now this door is set on springs. These springs, I don't know if you guys will believe this, these are fairly heavy duty. So they're leaf spring. Okay, it's a simple system, it's easy to change or easy to adjust. The weight of this door is heavy enough that I really don't need pressure on this top spring. Okay, the bottom spring keeps the door pushed in the jam. As an instructor, if I got a brand new group and they're having trouble setting the tools, I can actually come in here and soften up. Watch the gap right here. See my gap in my door?
Yeah.
So I can actually, and we actually set up the stair climb last year over Fort Worth. We had a couple officers' tools and some little mallets, and we had 10-year-olds running through this door. So this door can be set very, very easy. We had 1x2 stakes in there. Now you put them in a helmet and striking tools, and here they go. And that's what. And then you start it there. Get good technique and go on up from there. Okay. So, if for whatever reason I'm looking at it and go, man, that door's big, got a big gap, I look over here and go, well, crap, we don't have enough tension. And so this hinge pushes the door into place. As it comes back, it's going to open the gap. And if you look, the top gap still hasn't opened up. It's all at the bottom. So, all right. And this usually, we hadn't any problems with them moving during, but I may set them a little bit easier, and then as guys are going through, I may set them a little bit tougher on this bottom hinge. And all it needs to do is just, once it touches, the door can only push over this far, and that's all it can push. So you're only going to get about an inch of gap at the most if you're hossing it. Okay. The top, the weight of the door is pulling against it. It's about like this without any spring on it. If I put spring on there, that's whenever you got to be careful. You will break tools, or you'll get guys hurt because it's unrealistic. So we want to keep it as realistic as possible. So come here, go in, drive it in, and then for our crush we go down and come up. As we're doing that though, we're going to have to capture with either a wood wedge or the aluminum wedge. And what we're going to have to, if we stick it straight in, it's going to bottom out. Okay. Now, whenever I leave here, I didn't bring extras yet. I'll bring some on Friday. I'm actually going to cut the ends off these, and then you can stick them straight in there. And they'll be about the thickness of your adze. And so the more you crush, you can just push this straight in, and it'll hold itself in. And then you can actually, if you don't quite have it, you can actually drive this in just a hair. These aluminum wedges, if you're carrying a solid aluminum, there's a couple of those that have the holes in them. These are real durable. I would recommend everybody carry one in your pocket. Carry a couple wooden ones or plastic ones to throw down. This is the one whenever you really need to gain something. 6061 aluminum, they're real durable. This door will absolutely eat them up. That's why we started cutting them. We were going through too many of them. They were costing too much. So we started cutting them ourselves in the shop, and that's what they work really, really well. Once we cut the noses off these, they work really well for this drill too. Okay, it just, if you have one, don't use your good one on here because it'll come out looking a whole lot worse than this pretty quick. But if you're on a real door like that, this thing will hold up a whole lot better because this one's, there's a lot of steel in this and they don't have there. So we go through, we get our crush and we're holding that. We have to turn it at an angle to gain it. We get as wide as we can, and then we do how we did on that first drill, how we drove around the back of the jam. Once we get it here, we want to bring the door to this position. Once we get to here, go ahead and just come up. That's our 15 to 1, okay? So, go again?
Yes, sir.
Coming towards us.
Are we playing like that's really the...
Yeah, that's just a standard lock. Go fairly close to it.
Strike. Drive.
Oh, you hear that?
Yeah, it's different pitch.
You can hear the change.
And you said to get the most bite, you put it at an angle?
Yeah, because it'll bottom out on the back.
Yeah, real
it'll bottom out on the back of the jam. Now go down. You went up. Now take it down.
There's no window.
Did you go up and down
With the...
with your tool?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If you can get a little bit more, the more you gain here, the easier life will be.
Get it a little more.
Okay. So as we're doing this, the one part that's not realistic on this door is because it doesn't crush. It's either going to be a bigger gap at the top or a bigger gap at the bottom. Okay? So if you look here how tight it is at the bottom, the top's got a bigger gap.
Be able to drive.
You got a bigger gap, it's going to be a little bit easier. So we're going to go ahead and tack right the same spot.
All right, let's go through it one more time.
We had a little bit of a window.
Go underneath.
So see how he's getting underneath it, using his legs, pushing that up? That's good. Now, what we go to do on the door, we're actually, if he'll put tension on it, get it back in there as deep as you can, and then you're going to start pulling this out as he drives, and that's going to work you around. This door is brand new. It has a few entries on it the other day. It's going to be real slick.
So take a peek at it. You think I can actually work it around right now?
You're going to be close, but I'm going to have to pull. Now, whenever we're pulling, we keep our feet under us. So come here, look square, right there. I'm going to
Pull as he.
I'm going to pull.
Pull as he hits.
I may put a foot up against it.
Okay. You want me to hit the drive?
He's going to call you. Yeah, it should.
Strike. Can you see it? Strike.
You start. Okay,
Close.
we'll
Come on. Drive it right there. Drive.
Yeah.
Drive.
Drive it in.
Step it up. There you go.
Drive.
Okay, so what's our motion now?
Out.
We're on it. So now all we
Out.
gotta do is get
You're
it.
in.
Taking it this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, you're in.
Now, real quick, whenever we go to do this, whenever we go across the roof, we go real soft footed, right? We don't stomp our feet. Especially a big guy like me, I don't want to impact load it. This is exactly the opposite. We put our bar close to where our point is of attack. And so now I want to take it and I want to put as much energy as I can in one move, and I'm going to start here and I'm going to explode. Now I got to keep my feet underneath me because I may blow through this lock and I don't want to go rolling across the parking lot, land on my tools. So I start here, I explode to here, okay, and see what happens. And that's what you can tell if it's starting to soften, but whenever I do those explosions, I'm going from here to here as fast as I can and then trying to stop my body, stop my momentum to keep from being out of control. Okay?
Hey, drive it all the way.
Eyes next.
Thank you. Too good, sir. Oh yeah.
Okay, so now,
Oh,
right
yeah.
there, stop where you were.
Just take that wood out.
Put your tool back where it was.
Take the
Now, this is the habit that I want you to get used to doing. 15 to 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Finish it out.
Yep, go ahead and finish it out. And then whenever we finish it out, we're going to control our door. 15 to 1. Now, let's stop. Now, a 10 to 1 mechanical advantage. And guys, most guys will not use this. Grab your pike and your adze behind there, and that's a 10 to 1. So now that's going to travel out.
I got more.
And then, if I'm still holding, now I can go here, okay?
Yeah.
And then once I do that, I'm going to control the door. I'm going to use the howling bar to make sure it doesn't lock back on me. But I'm going to stick it down there where it doesn't, it's not just wide open here, okay? So take that, push it out. And if you need a little bit more of the 7 to 1, it'll get you another inch of push. Now, at this point, if this thing's still hanging, I'm going to attack whatever's holding it. Because I should have enough distance in there to take your pig, whatever it is, blow it out.
It's 20 to
and
1.
then at the end, right here,
20 to 1.
I'm going to grab, I may sweep or look, depending on what my conditions are, and then I'm going to put this in. So that thing can't go shut, but I'm controlling my flow now. Okay, and that's just a good habit to get into on any of the doors that we're going through. Okay, depending on how much moisture my steaks have in them, depends on how hard they are to break. Okay, some of them turn real rubbery. Now, if they're real rubbery, what we'll do is we'll actually set them light. So these steak pockets, so I'm putting them in there. If this is a wet piece of wood, I come in here and I'm going to go, okay, there's 1.5 inches. So that's a standard deadbolt. Whenever I put this wedge in here, it holds this against this door. So as the door moves, whenever I get to 1.5 inches, this will break free. Okay, we have to be careful. Some of the wood do not use treated for whatever reason. There's salts in that wood. They will not break. They will twist and turn. I've had guys get to the point of getting hurt where I have to go stop. We got a 60-inch bar. Guys are putting all they can put into it, and this thing's just barely moving. And it's because it's got so much flex in that wood. Okay, so the white pine, that's the way to go. You can use 1x2 stakes here or 2x2 stakes. Now, I've got some sitting in a bucket, and we're going to go into those because now I get that whenever I have to pull past, it may be a little bit harder. It's going to hang longer, so then I have to keep on maneuvering it out. Okay. So, what do you think? Good?
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
So we've messed with the enforcer in Garland.
Okay, as we're doing this, especially the striker, listen. He hit 2 extra hits once it's bottomed out. Once I bottom out, I'm bottomed out. Don't waste any more energy. Capture gap. Here. Now remember too, the further out we can work on this, the better off we are.
I got 2 of these.
Hey, you're gonna have to put that up or down. You're at an angle. If it goes straight in, you know what I'm saying? Capture more of it.
I got it.
So right here, instead of using that, get underneath it. Yeah, next. But you got a guy capture the gap.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, did I wedge your tool in?
No, I think we can get it right here.
Keep your feet under it.
Right.
You're,
Hold, hold. There you go.
yeah.
Almost
Yeah.
kind of curved.
That's exactly what I did. Striking. I was like, I can't hold it like this, but good time.
So hold on, right here, he's really having trouble. So, actually, somebody got saws on.
Yeah, we got
You got
saws on.
cordless? Okay. I need a bimetal blade there.
It'll work for about 6.5 seconds.
That's all
for
we
you,
need.
So be,
6.5. It's aluminum.
be
It's soft.
proficient.
So, now, the reality of it is if you hold, ready? Now, we're still attacking our deadbolt, right? Yeah. It's right there. Is there anything that says we can't go above or versus below?
Well, my height tells me that
this is a bad plan.
this is not going to work well for me.
Okay, so wait, you got it set. What are we doing now?
I was gonna try to pull it, but
Pull out. Huh?
pull it out too.
Yeah.
You want to stand on my back?
Your stance. Okay, now, once that happens, what do we do? I'm gonna take that wedge and drive it through. Well, he's got, I'll show you. Just going right now. Get a little bit more. Keep your feet
Hey,
on
Smith,
the
stick that in your pants. It's up to the top.
Hold on. Stop.
You're going to
This. Stick that in there and then you can drive it in. Okay? This you can drive it like you
Drive it
like it's not one of mine.
like Julie's on all fours. Hey, you know the difference between jelly and jam, don't you? That's what you always tell people.
Oh, look at this. Gotta jam it in there.
a lot better.
We good?
Yeah.
You can't jelly your wedges.
You can't jelly it in there.
Okay, now you want to go back and see where you're at. You got a pretty good idea. See how it's working?
Oh yeah.
We're working right around that corner. Yep. Okay, now, I will tell you this back side of this jam is actually a little bit more than the 1/2 inch. It's actually 3/8. And the reason we do that is because it rounds out over time. And so whenever you're pushing the door away from you, we want that still to have a 1/2 inch.
waste, yeah.
And so this is a little bit harder initially than what it would be.
Yeah. Yeah. It changed. Whenever it
Man, up
changed.
over here.
Taking like showers.
I bet I do.
Well, you need to pull it once to see how hard you gotta pull it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then if he times it,
Bury that.
That's kind of what we're
you
doing.
could kind of bury that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're trying
pull
to
and
do.
hit,
We're
pull
good
hit,
now.
pull hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
What bury
It's
that?
easier on those doors.
Just
than
the
this one.
doors, you can either
As this one gets used, it'll get easier to pull. Go around that corner.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's gonna start getting around.
Hey, Barry, drive it home.
You're gonna
Drive it home, baby.
Pull the door.
we know we got a double attack, go ahead and go about 2 more hits. That's good. All right. So he's going to do some pulling. We're going to kind of go in because we got a big group. Now, I'll come right here
Okay.
and I'm going to help you, and then I'm going to get him to drive it. So normally they may just tap mine in. Come, drop on the knee. I've got the pike protecting me, but. All right, so look at how these tools are lined up. If we're in a hallway and we can't mate up 2 tools fork to fork, get a 60-inch bar, I'm helping him magnetize. Now, I got to watch. Because the edge is going to be pointed toward him. So I'm going to actually put my hands over this to give him some protection. And so now, I'm helping him. I don't know exactly
Mechanical.
how much it's mechanical. It's at least, whatever this is, a 7 to 1. And then I've got another 7 to 1 at the minimum. And so we're doubling our workload. We're not, okay? So here, I'll let you hop on there. All right.
So on 3.
Okay.
On 3.
Actually, instead of that,
2,
hold on.
3.
Okay, instead of that,
Then 4.
it's ready, go. Ready, go. And that saves time.
We'll
I'm not
go
doing
on
1,
go.
2, 3.
Ready?
How about
go.
1, 2?
On 7.
Ready? Go. God dang.
Well,
Ready? Go.
All right, so any way I can,
Just watch that
you
for
don't
me.
ever
Yeah,
drive
watch.
that
Can't pull
further
much
in
on
You
there?
can.
You'd be
You can.
doing more than least.
Ready?
Tricep
Go.
sections.
Hey, control the door, please, sir.
Okay.
All right. How much energy did we just put into that door?
A lot.
A whole lot, right? And so now, if we get in here, we may have to go straight on these because these doors are not this tough and they're going to start. If you start seeing them move and they start to tear, just like in a car, if you're tearing it, stop. Go up and put all your pressure. We want to put it right where our locks are. And it may be we put it all here first and put it all here next. And that's one of the complaints. This door is so rigid, it doesn't flex. It's allowed, it can move a little bit in the hinge system. The bottom can move away.
But it's wanting to go back every time.
But yeah, every time it's trying to, and if this wedge is in, it's trying to pull everything back in there, okay? So, you'll notice a lot of times if you just use one of these, and then you can use a stake up here, and that makes you kind of work around, and then the door will actually get some flex out of it. So as an instructor, like I say, keep that much energy, that's about the most you ever want to put on there, okay? Now, whenever we have those set, let's go ahead and drop the next.
So pros. I'll give it to you. You're open. Drive.
Now, pull, you're calling for your driver.
Chair change.
Where do you go from there? What's next? Now, hold on. Whenever we go down, yeah, whenever you go down with the... You hear that?
You're in.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like me to put it in there for you, sir?
Yes, sir. Have a voice to it.
Now you can drive her home. Okay, I'll get that little black thing out your way.
I'm sorry. Hold on a little bit next, so I think you guys.
You're good, Nick. Let him bring that in.
Okay. Yep. You ready? Yep.
Hey, Tony. Bang that wedge all the way to the end. Move, get that thing out of there. And if you bang that wedge in there, it'll give you daylight.
Want me to try it? Want me to do it for you? Let me see there. Hang on. Yeah.
So remember what this wedge is capturing your gap. Go down, capture.
There you go. Good.
Well,
Yeah,
okay,
perfect.
stop, right there, hold on, stop. So, whenever I go to do crush, I do crush up and down, okay? You just pull.
Yeah.
If you go to crush, if you go to crush on that door, you're gonna skin the door. And that's one of the big things that I want to teach. Just because I can do that on this door, it will not work on that one. You're gonna skin the door, and now you're gonna screw yourself. So every time. So
down.
whenever you do that, go ahead and practice your crushes. But this gives you the ability to get it in there and gain that and hold it.
You don't pull until you're all the way in.
Once you're ready to drive it, you go on the backside, and even with the back of the door, you're not going to pull and drive it.
Now you can actually drive that in.
See daylight?
Now, this is going to gain crush force. That's what this short wedge does. Okay, drive that one all the way in.
Drop this.
Yeah, whenever you get it up there in that position,
Okay.
beat it in there 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch.
Crush.
Now do your crush. Crush, 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 crush.
Stoney.
Hold on. Whenever we do this crush, we go down as much as we can. That bouncing will sometimes screw you over here because if your tool slips, and it has the ability to do that. Once it's dug in, it'll stay in the same position. But if I go to bouncing, that tool's going to go every direction. And so I want to keep it dug in. I'm going to push, 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 push. Right? Stop.
All right, now take that tool out. And get out of the way.
Just hold it. Just hold it. But you drive this. Drive it. Okay. Now you get. Now better?
Pull it. Pull it, wedge. Go here, another one. What's that?
You're good.
Halligan.
Okay, so now let's talk about the timeout. We're going to talk about multiplying forces. So first, actually, if you have a notched pig, this may be my first option. Notched pig goes in here. Hey, this is actually my wrong bar. We had that other bar, it's been opened up and fit now. That goes down in here and locks up nice and tight. Okay? And so whenever we go to do this, go ready, pull. Now this one, see how it's right there on the edge? It's going to pull out. So this one won't work. Take that bar now. Your second Halligan bar, if we're running the same type of Halligan bars that aren't 3-piece bars, we can mate up fork to fork. So we can actually come in here and tap it. Whenever we get this done, how do we get these loose? Just drop them on the ground and they'll fall apart.
Drop on the ground like
Hold on. So now what's another multiplier we can use here?
Do you ever damage your New York hook and just take it to town?
You can, but if you're doing it right, you want to grab the New York hook.
Oh, you have
The steel one, not the fiberglass.
Yeah.
So
I don't even think we
this.
have any that are fiberglass.
Okay, we come right here, reach behind the pipe,
the New York hooks?
right there, and then we're going to go right here. Okay, come right here in the middle. Now, how we control this is you take one hand right
Well,
there.
yeah, all
this
the
hand
ones in the
goes right
back
here.
ass end of our truck are fiberglass.
And what we're doing is we're
But the only ones we
placing this
use
bar, and now we're going to go. Okay, it's going to be ready, pull, ready, pull, Okay, now we go in here. Now, if I take this and I get out here on the end, I'll make it look like a horseshoe. It'll come right around. Okay, but how I brace up is by guys reaching over. He's controlling, he's putting pressure on the bar, and I'm putting pressure on it too. We're able to maintain that. And we're able to put that impact load that we're looking at.
So
Did you watch that? You saw where he put that? Which side? We were messing with it the other day, but it looked like they crossed hands and just held on.
Yeah, I'm holding these two together because we don't want that fork to let go. So now, go ahead and run through the rest of this just with one man. Okay, stop. Go up.
Steel toes.
All right.
No. We got that bar on.
So once you use all that you can get there, go to just the adds. That's about a 7 to 1, but it gets you a little further push. You're pushing about 5 inches there. Once we get that, okay, there goes the hose line, whatever we're doing. So multiplying force, you may have the option of the pig with notches in it. You may have the option of 2 bars together, or you may use something that's the New York hook. Do not use the fiberglass. Somebody shows up with a fiberglass one.
That's for the next.
If it's all you got to get in. If you do this, you might be successful. You probably won't. You're probably gonna break the bar on.
So if you're one guy back there, which one would you suggest? The pig?
If I'm one guy, if I've tuned out, here's what I would consider carrying this tool wise. My OV man is probably gonna carry some kind of configuration real similar to this. He's gonna do this, and he's gonna take his pig, and he's probably gonna be carrying a notched pig, and he's gonna slide it in here.
Maybe it's all with him.
And then, so he has one free hand, right? Now,
Ladder,
actually the OV, if he's going to the back, he may be dragging a ladder with all his crap laid on top of it. And that's what ROVs, you know, they know that they got a lot of stuff to get there.
But if you were actually going to use mechanical advantage, you're going to extend that.
If I have, I'm not going to carry 2 Halligans. So if I have a pig with notches, or if I have the New York hook, I'm going to use what I've got there. And know that those are just options in the. Now, it's a little bit harder with one man. I got to make sure I don't put too much pressure on it outside because I'll bend my New York. But, you know, that's most, you know, how, it just depends on,
Gotcha.
every fireground's going to be different. So, but having those options, know that I can do those different things. So, any questions at this point? Just making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Learning anything?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, but I did it wrong for a long time.
Yeah.
Now, and that's what a lot of the, like somebody was talking about earlier, that adds twist, that wasn't something that was taught whenever I was